All right. First of all, I just want to say that I'm getting over being sick, so if my voice isn't that great and if I have to take a few cough breaks, that's on me. I'm sorry about that. All right. So to begin this speech, I will be reading some Google reviews on the game The Last of Us 2. The game seems to evolve around a lot of female characters. The game tries to express women with empowerment in a misandrist way. There are homosexual women, a large muscular woman, pregnant woman, and a 13-year-old girl who wants to be identified as a boy. Feminism is in it. At least I think there is. I could be wrong. Abby, as the game shows her, has the body of a man and is shown to be tougher than most men. The only people who love this game and write the words, "a beautiful, greatly told story," are the liberal morons who think being a lesbian or being a transgender is okay. And that's what this game is saying. So basically, every white, straight male are the true villains. I don't know if that was Hallie Gross's idea or what, but it was easily noticed. Ellie was such an appreciated little girl, but now she's a lesbian. Why? That's stupid. What happened to getting immune children? Is being gay even an option when everyone is dead? All right, so I'm sure that we can agree. No? Okay. I'm sure that we can agree that those reviews were a little silly, whether it be the grammar or the actual message that they're spreading. I personally played this game last year. I thought it was incredible, and even though I've heard a lot of bad things about it, so I want to talk about why this game is so good and why you can't trust all the bad reviews. The Last of Us 2 is a 2020 sequel to the wildly popular game and TV show The Last of Us, which follows Joel and Ellie across the country. Ellie, the girl, is immune to the zombie apocalypse that is happening, so they're traveling across the country to get her to a hospital to have a cure created from whatever is causing these zombies. However, we find out that Ellie has to die for this cure to be created, so Joel ends up killing everyone in the hospital and escaping with her. The main subject of the first The Last of Us game is the friendship and connection that forms between not only Joel and Ellie, but the player, which is why it was such a shock and why everyone got so angry when an hour into the second game, Joel dies. The game previews were purposely misleading, with the developers seeming as if the game was going to focus more on the relationship of Joel and Ellie. However, people got even more angry when about halfway through the second game, you switch perspectives and you have to play as the character of Abby, the one who killed Joel. What you learn when playing as Abby is according to Ryan Bonfie in Ellie's journal in 2022, even though many people pinpoint Abby as a character who does not align with their goals, The Last of Us Part 2 strongly suggests that Ellie and Abby are extremely alike. Both characters have very comparable goals regarding their revenge, and story-wise, their losses and experiences are incredibly similar. This is due to a huge revenge plot that progresses in the game, which I will talk about a little later. A major point in The Last of Us 2 is, as stated by Brandon Keogh in 2020 in his article The Rest of Us, that this isn't your story, it's the characters. You're just along for the ride. You're not even a single actor anymore, but more akin to a camera person watching the story unfold. Many people are upset that you're forced to play as Abby for a very short time at the beginning of the game to kill Joel, and are later forced to fight to the death with Ellie later, but fail to realize that a very significant and meaningful part of The Last of Us 2 is that you are unable to make decisions or go against the story that is written. You either accept that the characters are human and have major flaws, or you turn the game off. As shown in a study on Frontiers in Psychology conducted by Valerie Erb, Sion Lee, and Young-Yim Do in 2021 on how game satisfaction occurs in those who play The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2. They created this infographic with those unable to accept changes in the character they play, the focus of the story, and in how they perceive Abby, end up strongly disliking the story, and the exact opposite being true for those who are able to accept change in the game and in themselves. Basically, if you can't handle change, you can't handle Abby or the game of The Last of Us 2, so take that as you will. Now on to a more in-depth discussion of the point that I showed in the form of Google reviews at the beginning of the speech. Many people dislike the game for political reasons, which include multiple LGBTQ characters and a strong, muscular woman. As you saw earlier, a lot of people seem to want to find something wrong with the game, whether it's a gay character or two, and most appalling, a strong, masculine woman proudly being strong and masculine. Ellie, the main character, is a lesbian with a bisexual girlfriend. Abby also ends up meeting a boy named Lev, who is cast out from his religious cult due to being transgender. There's not much to say about how ignorant it is to judge a game extremely negatively based on the inclusion of 3 LGBTQ characters, so I'll move on. Lots of people are also angry at Abby, who is a very strong, athletic, and muscular woman, instead of being skinnier and more conventionally attractive like Ellie is, which is very obviously rooted in misogyny and men expecting women in media to sexually appeal to them. It's a very common thing in gaming communities for men to be sexist towards women, which is shown in statistics like those given by Sirene Bogacha in her 2022 article on ivolunteer.org, which says that 20% of female gamers have experienced sexual harassment in the form of rape or death threats, and 59% of women have to hide their gender while gaming online. Now, obviously, Abby is not a real human that is experiencing harassment online by men, but there's a very strong correlation between misogyny and sexualization of real and fake women. Laura Bailey and Jocelyn Mettler, the voice and face actor for Abby, actually were harassed and threatened so much after the game's release that they both had to leave social media for a very long time. As the results state in a 2019 study by Mona Voges and Manuel Waldorf, Gender Differences in Body Evaluation, men devalue non-ideal bodies and upvalue ideal bodies, whereas women more rate in a fair-minded manner. This hatred of more masculine women and this main character, due to her strength and muscle mass, seems to happen often, with the same treatment being given to another game character named Aloy, who made people upset for having facial hair and not being feminine enough. Now that we've established why people hate The Last of Us 2 so much, I'm going to talk about why I love the game and I think everyone should give it a chance. I like it for a lot of the reasons that all of these people hate it, and because the storytelling is genius and very well done through the gameplay. Now, I appreciate The Last of Us 2 for doing what other games are scared to, most likely knowing the backlash that they would get, which is by having multiple LGBTQ characters and a very strong muscular woman as a protagonist. And maybe the fact that people hate it so much makes me like it a little bit more. I love how the game speaks on the cycle of revenge and violence, with Abby killing Joel due to him killing her dad, and then Ellie trying to kill Abby due to her killing Joel. Once the game end is reached, Ellie and Abby are both physically and mentally broken as they try to kill each other, and when Ellie is about to kill Abby, she has a flashback to Joel's murder, spares her, and returns home to find it empty, with her girlfriend and their child nowhere to be seen. Ellie, who lost 2 fingers during that final fight with Abby, is unable to play the song that Joel taught her on guitar, ultimately losing the very last thing that she has left of him. The idea that constant need for violence and revenge eventually leads you to losing yourself and everything you have is a very powerful one. And as MLK said, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. Revenge being dangerous and not worth it is also very topical, with psychologist Michelle Gelfand stating in her 2019 article, "Revenge is bittersweet at best." In the US, desire for revenge has been implicated in over 60% of school shootings and over a quarter of bombings. The idea that good and evil are a binary is also very discredited in The Last of Us 2, with everyone who plays initially hating Abby for beating Joel to death. But once we learn that Joel's violent and irrational actions are the reason that Abby's dad is dead, we're able to sympathize with her more and understand that Joel is not as good of a person as we want him to be. The same thing happens with Ellie, but flipped a little bit. In the first game, she's an innocent 14-year-old girl that we just want to love and protect. But in the second game, we see her as a grown woman, murdering pregnant women, dogs, and too many innocents to count. As Clancy Martin states in Are Humans Good or Evil in 2014, to be good is to have some genuinely selfless motivations. Both characters getting revenge and risking their lives doing it for someone that they cared about who is now dead could easily be seen as selfless, but the way they go about it, by killing hundreds or thousands of people, is probably also seen as evil. The gameplay is also very fun in this game. I have played the 25-hour game 2 times for a total of 50 hours, except you do have to kill dogs in it, so maybe don't play it if you don't want to do that. In summary, The Last of Us 2 is an incredible game with a great message and storytelling, despite what a lot of nitpickers and bigots have to say about it. So, right after this is over, go home, buy a PS5, buy both The Last of Us games, and play them right now. You won't regret it.